Okay, in this video I'm going to talk about how to effectively use the Jupyter notebook and just give you a kind of tour of the overall environment. Okay, before we continue, let's review how we got the notebook running. So you just go here. Let me close this one. So when you close this, this no longer functions. So, but if I go to here, and again you type Jupyter and notebook, you hit enter, and this time it didn't take so long, and we're back here again. Now you can also, instead of using the command prompt there, you can also use the I spelled that wrong, and command prompt here, and that's the command prompt that comes with the Anaconda installation, so you could also use that. Now, one other thing to mention is that when you start up the Jupyter Notebook, it's going to start up in the directory where you currently are. So I'm currently under C users HP Bill, and so that's going to be where this starts up. And that's going to be reflected here in terms of the folders that are in that directory. If you want to start in a different directory, you can use something like, let me get a new window here. You could use something, you can go to a different directory using the commands of the command prompt. For example, suppose I wanted to shift to my downloads file directory. I could type in cd, change directory, DOW. Now I don't have to actually type it all out. I think if you hit tab, it will auto-complete. Yeah, I think so. Okay, and then if you hit enter, you're in your downloads. And then you could start Jupyter here, but I don't want to start it. I already have it started, but you could do that. Now, if you wanted to go back up to one directory above downloads, you can use the cd command and ... and that will take you up to the next level. You could do cd again and ... that will take you up to the level. And you can look around for the commands for the command prompt, and you'll see that there are quite a number of different commands you can run. So going back to here, to open up a new notebook, you can click here, New, and what you can probably use Python 3 if you need to, but it's better to use Python 2, or if it has something like root, you can use that. But if there's Python 2, let's just use that, and you'll get this. And then if you want to give this a name, you can click up there and call it beginning, whatever you want to call it. Okay, something. Okay, so let's go through how to use the notebook. So this here is called a code cell, and that means that you can type in here Python code, and you can run it as we saw before. And you can do the same thing basically for any Python code. So if you want to know what 1 plus 2 is, just type that and run. So notice that it calls it output 3. The output is 3, and whereas here it didn't call it that. So if you run the print statement, by the way, you can rerun this. So if you run print like that, then we won't get that out here. So let's run that again, and it looks like that. And also these numbers in here indicate this, I guess, the time that you did this. So this was the first, I guess, the sequence in which these steps were run, or these statements were run. So this is the first one I ran, and then the second one is no longer there, but this is the third one. Okay, now you don't actually have to always go up here and run the cell. You can use the command Shift Enter. So if I do hello again, and I'm not going to click up here, I'm not going to click there, I'm going to go to my keyboard and I'm going to hold down the Enter key, I'm sorry, the Shift key, and hit Enter, and it does the same thing as running up here. Okay, so that's, if you type in, I'm sorry, if you use the Shift and then the Enter key, so I'll do that right now, Shift and Enter, you get that. So that's a nice feature. Okay, another little trick is if you use Alt Enter, so I'll do that here, Alt and Enter, it does the same thing. It still runs it as 3, but it also opens up a new cell here below, so that might be handy instead of having to create a new cell each time. Okay, now you might be wondering how can you save this notebook? So you can just do, I think it's Control S. All right, let's see. Yeah, it's Control S. You can do it that way, or you can do it by just clicking here, or you can go here, File and Save and Checkpoint. So you can save it, and it also has an auto save, which so it saves like every 2 minutes automatically. So you can also use rely on that. Okay, you might also be wondering, how can you save? How can you download it? So you can go to File and Download As, and you can download it as this. We'll be talking about this form later. This is just a regular Python file, so then you could run it in idle or some other Python environment. You can save it as a web page. I tried this, but it didn't work, but I think because I don't have latex or something like that. But anyway, there are some options for downloading it as well. Okay, one more thing, and that is if you ever, we're going to learn about loops later, and if you run it, if you get into a situation where you have what's called an infinite loop, which just means it keeps running and it doesn't stop, and you need to stop it, like an infinite while loop. First of all, you'll see like an asterisk in here saying that it's still running, the loop, and all you have to do is go to kernel and click Restart Kernel. So you go to kernel and restart. You can also use interrupt, but sometimes that may not work if you have a really bad infinite loop. You might have to restart. So if you click Restart, it says you want to, all variables will be lost, and you do that. And if you ever need help, you can come here, you can check the user interface tour. You have help on these various libraries that are all very important for data science. You have help on Python, and you have, as I said, notebook help. Okay, so you can click on notebook help, and you get this kind of information. Now, these notebooks used to be called IPython notebooks, but now, since they can run many other languages besides Python, they're just called Jupyter notebooks. And one more thing is that there are actually more keyboard shortcuts than we mentioned so far. And if you go to Help and Keyboard Shortcuts, you'll see a list of all the keyboard shortcuts. Okay, now one more thing, and that is that one really great thing about these notebooks is that you can make them look good, or you can make really good, I guess we could say, comments, or use what's called Markdown language. So if you, right now we're running regular Python code, but if you wanted to make a kind of Markdown, or I guess a kind of a comment, you just go here, instead of running code, you want to run Markdown. And now if I run this, so I'll click up here just for example, and then I just get this, which is, so you can type in and make lots of notes and make this look very good and readable. And that's one of the great things about the Python Jupyter notebook rather. However, also you can learn to use the Markdown language here, and then you can do all kinds of things like make lists. It's kind of like HTML. You can make lists, and you can make headers, and so on. I guess you could do a heading right here. Let's see what that is. Using, okay. Well, okay, so it does that, and let's run that. Okay, so you can do that, I guess. Okay, so you can make this document look very good and readable using this feature here. Now, one mistake you could make is you could have this here, and you could have this set as Markdown, and you wonder why your code isn't working. So I'll hit Shift Enter, and it doesn't run the code, right? It just prints it, and you get confused because it wasn't set to code. So you go back here and set it to code, and then you run it, and you get the result that you were hoping for.